The stars had always called to humanity. Long after they left Earth and settled new colonies, explorers continued to search deeper into space. One such expedition carried a small crew toward an uncharted system where 3 suns burned in silence, and planets circled like forgotten beads on a string. Their ship, named Aurora, was modest compared to great colony vessels, yet it carried a brave heart. On board were Mira, Tomas, and Ren. They were not soldiers or rulers, but explorers, each driven by curiosity. Mira was the lead surveyor, known for her sharp eyes and calm thinking. Tomas was a linguist, eager to record new symbols and sounds. Ren, a systems engineer, had the habit of studying machines as if they were puzzles waiting for him to solve. When the Aurora entered orbit around the 4th planet of the system, something unusual caught Myra's attention. The planet appeared barren at first sight, covered with gray rock and dust, but the scanners showed strange patterns beneath the surface. It was not like mountains or caverns. It was something too straight, too perfect, too precise to be natural. "Look at this," Myra said, pointing at the display. "The layers are metallic, not stone, not soil. It stretches across the whole planet." Ren leaned closer, his eyes widening. "That's not a planet's crust. That's a structure. A shell of some kind." Thomas adjusted the readings, his voice filled with wonder. "Are we looking at ruins or something larger?" The 3 stared at the data, and silence filled the control deck. A thought unspoken passed among them. If this was not a planet, then what was it? They prepared a descent. Their lander broke through the thin atmosphere, dust swirling like faded smoke as they approached the surface. When the landing gear touched down, a deep metallic echo vibrated through the ground, as though the very world was hollow. Mira stepped outside first, her boots pressing into a layer of ash that covered shining alloy beneath Dot. The horizon was endless and flat, but here and there, enormous ridges rose like walls. Ren placed his hand on the surface and felt a faint hum, a low vibration that seemed alive even in its silence. "This whole world is a machine," Ren whispered. "It is sleeping." They carried scanners and lights as they searched for an opening. Hours passed before they discovered a vast canyon that seemed to be an entry. The walls were smooth, sloping inward until a hidden gate appeared. The gate was tall enough to swallow mountains, its edges carved with patterns unlike anything Tomas had studied before. The symbols glowed faintly when touched by light, as though recognizing attention after countless years. Tomas carefully copied the markings into his tablet. "This is not just a structure. This is writing. A message left behind." Myra shone her light into the darkness beyond the gate. The space stretched on endlessly, a chamber so large it could have held entire cities. Their voices echoed, small. Against the vast silence. As they moved deeper, Ren discovered corridors filled with machinery. Pipes ran like veins, and colossal gears rested as if frozen mid-turn. There was no dust here, no sign of decay, only stillness. The air felt dry, untouched for ages. Yet Mara could not shake the feeling that they were walking through the heart of something greater than themselves. "This is not a ruin," she said softly. "It has been preserved." Almost waiting, they reached a central hall where the floor was polished black, reflecting their lights like a mirror. In the center stood a tall column, filled with crystalline shapes. Ren approached, placing his palm against it. At once, a faint glow pulsed within, a single spark that traveled upward and spread like fire awakening from embers. The crew froze, watching the crystal tower come alive with light. It was not violent nor threatening. It was gentle, like a slow breath after a long sleep. The glow pulsed once, then again, before fading into a soft hum that filled the entire hall. Ren stepped back, his face pale yet filled with awe. "We did. Not activated. It recognized us. Myra felt her heart race. She looked at her companions and then back at the column. This place is not dead. It was waiting for someone to arrive. Outside the hall, faint lights began to appear along the walls, stretching into distant corridors. The world ship, as they now knew it to be, had awakened at their presence. Back on the Aurora, the instruments flared with readings, showing bursts of energy spreading from beneath the planet's crust. The ship's systems picked up signals traveling into space, faint but powerful enough to reach far beyond this system. Tomas read the glowing markings on the walls again, tracing his fingers over their shapes. Though he could not yet translate the language, the meaning felt heavy, as if it carried the weight of an ancient story. He glanced at Mira and Ren, his voice low. This is not just a machine. This is a vessel, a starship the size of a world. The three stood together in silence, the enormity of the truth pressing upon them. They were the first humans to uncover it, yet they knew at once they would not be the last. For a secret of this size could not remain hidden. The moment the vessel stirred, the stars themselves seemed to listen. Humanity had touched something far beyond their understanding, and the cosmos would soon take notice. The vessel beneath the barren world did not return to full life, but its slow awakening was enough to change everything. Lights traced long corridors, soft glows rippled across walls, and faint currents of energy moved under the metallic floor. Mira, Tomas, and Ren stood inside the great hall, each breath carrying both wonder and unease. Ren bent down and placed a scanner on the ground. The reading surprised him. The power is not from a single core. It flows everywhere, spread like blood through veins. The entire structure is alive in its own way. Mira studied the tall crystal column that had pulsed when they arrived. It responded to us, she said. It did not fight us. It welcomed us. But why? Thomas brushed his fingers over glowing symbols on the wall. He had copied many already, but none fully made sense. This language feels like it carries layers of meaning. Not just words, but ideas, almost like song and story together. It is speaking, but we cannot yet hear it clearly. Their voices echoed in the hall, small against the vast chamber. The silence around them felt heavy, yet it was not empty. It was the silence of something waiting. They explored further, their footsteps slow as they entered a corridor that stretched endlessly. On both sides were doors, each as tall as buildings. Ren opened one with effort, and behind it was a chamber filled with machines unlike anything they had seen. Huge rings hung in the air, connected by threads of light, as though time itself had been woven into patterns. It is still working, Ren whispered. He adjusted his scanner, but found no clear reading. This is not energy we know. It bends our instruments. It bends our understanding. Myra walked slowly around the chamber, her eyes wide. Who could build this? And for what purpose? Tomas thought of the symbols again. It was not built by humans. That is clear. But perhaps it was meant for those who would come after. Perhaps it was meant for us to find. The deeper they went, the stronger the hum became. It was not loud, but it pressed gently into their bones, as though the ship spoke without words. They found a hall lined with statues, tall figures carved in smooth stone. The figures were not human, but stood tall and graceful, with flowing forms like streams of water turned solid. Each statue faced forward, hands raised as if offering something unseen. Mira touched one and felt warmth, as though the stone remembered the hands that made it. These were the builders, she said softly. They wanted us to remember them. Tomas nodded. And maybe to continue their journey. Back at the surface, their lander relayed signals to the Aurora. The ship reported that the faint pulse of energy from the vessel had traveled into space like a beacon. The signal was not aimed at humans, but sent outward in all directions as If calling anyone who might listen, Ren frowned at the report. That means others will hear, not just us. Myra's expression grew firm. Then we must learn as much as we can before they arrive. This is not only discovery, this is responsibility. They returned to the central hall where the crystal column continued to glow softly. Tomas noticed new markings had appeared along the floor, spreading outward in rings. He knelt and traced them with care. It is reacting to us again, he said. Every time we step deeper, it changes. It learns that we are here. Ren hesitated. Do you think it can think? Myra answered, her voice calm but thoughtful. Perhaps not like us, but it has a purpose. It remembers, it listens, and it responds. That is enough to call it alive in its own way. The glow from the column grew stronger, as if agreeing. The hum deepened, and suddenly the ceiling above shifted. A faint projection appeared, filling the chamber with starlight. Thousands of points shone across the air, each glowing like a map of the galaxy. Paths of light stretched between them, routes from star to star. The three explorers stood in awe, surrounded by the universe displayed in perfect detail. Myra reached out, and one star brightened at her touch. It expanded into a closer view, showing planets circling and a line of symbols flowing beside them. Tomas hurried to copy the shapes. This is a record, he said. A map, a story, and a memory all at once. Ren's eyes widened. This ship knows the galaxy. Maybe more than the galaxy. It has traveled. It has seen places we cannot imagine. The projection shifted again, and one star pulsed brightly. It was not near, but far, beyond the reach of any human colony. The symbols beside it glowed in a pattern Tomas had begun to recognize. He did not yet know the full meaning, but he felt the weight of it. I think it is pointing, Tomas said. It wants to guide us. The projection faded, and the hall returned to silence, though the hum remained steady. The three stood together, their hearts heavy with the realization. This was no abandoned relic. This was a vessel still waiting to complete its purpose. Myra finally spoke. We are not only explorers anymore. We are part of something larger. And whatever comes next, the stars will know that humanity has found it. As they returned to their lander, the surface of the vessel glowed faintly under the night sky. The barren planet no longer looked dead. It looked alive, carrying the quiet heartbeat of a colossus waking from endless sleep. The signal had gone out, and the silence of the cosmos would not last long. The signal from the vessel traveled far beyond the silent planet. It moved through the black sea of space, past distant suns, past colonies, and into regions where other civilizations watched the stars closely. To them, the pulse of energy was no accident. It was a message, a sign that something ancient had awakened. Among the first to notice were the Avari, a people known for their long lives and patient studies. They lived in great floating cities that circled their bright home star. When their astronomers traced the signal back, they whispered among themselves in quiet wonder. The humans, one of them said. The young ones of the galaxy have touched a sleeping giant. Far away, the Tala received the signal as well. Unlike the Avari, they were quick to act. Their councils met in high towers of glass, where the skies glowed with moving lights. This is a risk, their leader spoke. If humans hold such a vessel, balance will change. We must decide whether to guide them or to stop them before it is too late. And still further, across another arm of the galaxy, the Saren observed. They were not quick to speak, but their silent minds reached across stars, sharing thoughts without words. They did not speak of danger, only of curiosity. To them, humanity had taken a bold step, a step that many older races had feared to take. Back. On the vessel itself, Myra, Tomas, and Ren worked tirelessly. They mapped corridors, recorded symbols, and traced the gentle hum that never ceased. The ship did not fight them, but neither did it reveal all its secrets. It showed glimpses, hints, as though it tested their patience and their hearts. In the great projection hall, the starlight map appeared again. Tomas studied the glowing patterns, his fingers brushing across his tablet. It changes each time. "We come here," he said. "The paths shift. It is alive, not fixed. It wants us to follow." Mira stood with her arms folded, watching the stars swirl. But follow where? Toward knowledge or into danger? Ren placed a small sensor on the floor. "Wherever it leads, this ship has traveled farther than any human craft. If we do not follow, others will. We are not alone in this discovery anymore." His words proved true sooner than they expected. Days later, the Aurora received transmissions from human colonies. The signal had reached Earth, and leaders across the colonies debated endlessly. Some saw opportunity, others saw threat. And among those voices came new reports. Alien envoys were approaching, each wishing to speak of the vessel. Myra listened to the reports with care. "We knew this day would come," she said. "The moment the signal left this world, we became part of a story larger than humanity." The first envoys arrived in small craft that hovered near orbit. The Aurora systems recorded their presence, but did not allow direct entry. Messages were exchanged. The Avari spoke calmly, asking to observe. The Taller demanded answers, pressing for control. The Saren sent no words at all, only a pulse of thought that felt like a hand extended in silence. For Mira, Tomas, and Ren, the weight of choice pressed heavier than before. They had uncovered the vessel, but now all eyes of the cosmos were upon them. One evening, inside the central hall, Tomas sat near the crystal column and studied the markings that glowed along the floor. "These symbols," he murmured, "they do not speak of power. They speak of memory, of journeys, of caretakers who carried not only themselves, but others across the stars. This vessel was not made for conquest. It was made for refuge." Ren tilted his head. "Then why leave it here, hidden in silence?" "Perhaps," Mira answered, her eyes thoughtful. "The builders wanted someone new to find it. Someone who had not yet filled the galaxy with pride or fear. Someone who still carried wonder." The crystal pulsed once, a soft glow that filled the chamber like a gentle nod. It was not speech, yet it felt like agreement. Outside, the stars looked brighter than ever. The vessel seemed to breathe more strongly each day. Its walls hummed, its corridors lit new pathways, and its presence carried across the system like a voice waiting to be heard. For the civilizations beyond, humanity was no longer only the young race learning to walk among stars. They had uncovered a relic older than memory, a ship the size of a world, and it had answered them. Some feared, some admired, but none could ignore, and so the cosmos leaned closer, watching, waiting, as humanity stood at the center of a story that had only just begun. Myra looked at her companions before leaving the hall that night. Her voice was quiet, but steady. "We thought we were explorers, but the truth is larger. The stars themselves are watching us now. Whatever happens, we must choose carefully, because the future will remember this choice." The vessel hummed. In agreement, its silent voice carrying through the halls, reaching out into the endless dark where unseen eyes waited for what humanity would do next. The vessel no longer felt silent. Each day it revealed more of itself to the human explorers, as if guiding them step by step. Mira, Tomas, and Ren had walked through endless corridors, and with every turn new halls opened. The ship seemed to know they were ready to see more. One morning, the crystal column in the central hall glowed brighter than before. Instead of a map of stars, the light bent and formed shapes. Mira gasped softly as figures appeared in the air. Tall beings with flowing forms that resembled the statues they had seen earlier. Their bodies shimmered with soft light, as if made of water and stone together. "They are showing us the builders," Tomas whispered. His voice was full of wonder. The figures moved gracefully, their gestures filled with meaning. The humans could not hear words, but the images told their story. Cities floating among the stars. Giant vessels shaped like worlds drifting through the void. The beings traveled together in peace, carrying gardens, rivers, and knowledge with them. Myra watched closely, her heart steady. "They were travelers of the galaxy," she said. "Not destroyers, not conquerors. They built ships to carry life." Ren leaned forward, trying to capture the details with his scanner. "Look at the scale," he said. "These ships were not made for a single people. They were made for many. Whole species could have lived inside." The vision changed. Now the figures stood before a growing darkness, something that spread like a shadow across the stars. The images were less clear here, only hints of worlds fading and ships dimming one by one. Tomas frowned. Something happened to them, something they could not stop. Myra's eyes softened. And so they left behind these vessels. Perhaps as a memory, perhaps as a gift. The vision ended. The hall returned to its quiet hum, the crystal column glowing faintly once more. Yet the humans felt changed. They had not only seen the builders, but had walked a little into their story. For days after, the explorers found chambers that reflected what they had seen. One room opened into a vast garden, long dry, yet still shaped with terraces and streams. Another hall held towers of glass, inside which rested crystals like frozen flames. Ren studied them and discovered they stored patterns of light that could be read as memory. Tomas worked carefully with the crystals. When touched, they projected shapes like the visions from the central hall. He began to recognize repeating symbols, words that appeared again and again. One of them he believed to be the name of the builders, Lumari. The Lumari carried life with them. Tomas explained one evening as they studied the projections. They were not only protectors of their own kind, they welcomed others onto their ships. This vessel may once have been home to many species, each living in harmony inside its endless halls. Ren shook his head slowly, still amazed. That explains the size. A planet-sized ship was not an exaggeration. It was a necessity. Myra stood quietly, her gaze on the soft lights above. And now it sleeps, waiting for new voices to fill its silence. Outside, the situation grew heavier. Reports reached the Aurora that more alien ships had arrived in nearby space. Some kept their distance. Others sent repeated messages demanding answers. Humanity was no longer the only one interested in the Lumari's gift in one transmission. An Avari elder spoke gently. "The vessel you have awakened is not only yours. It belongs to history, to all who wander the stars." Another message from the tower carried less patience. "Human hands cannot guide such a relic. It must be shared, or it will bring ruin." Mira, Tomas, and Ren listened to every message with care. They knew the vessel's truth was greater than a single race. Yet they also felt something deeper, something personal. The Lumari had responded to them first. The vessel had awakened at their touch, not at the call of others. Back in the hall of projections, Tomas placed his hand on the crystal column again. A new vision filled the air. This time, it showed not only the past, but the heart of the vessel itself. Endless chambers, layered one over another, filled with gardens, lakes, and homes. It was a city within a world, waiting to be lived in once again. Ren whispered as the image unfolded. "It is ready to be used. Not as a weapon, but as a home." Myra's face grew firm. "Then the question is not what the vessel can give us, but what we will do with it. If we choose wisely, it can be a place of unity. If we choose poorly, it may become another lost memory, like the Lumari themselves. The vision faded. Once again, the hall returned to silence. Yet the silence no longer felt empty. It felt full, heavy with choices that reached far beyond the three explorers. That night, as they rested inside their lander, Mira looked at her companions. We are no longer only visitors. The vessel speaks to us. It asks if humanity is ready to carry what the Lumari left behind. Neither Tomas nor Ren answered at once. The stars outside shone quietly through the windows, and the vessel beneath them hummed like a heartbeat. They all knew the truth. Humanity had found more than a ship. They had found a trust, and the galaxy was watching to see how they would carry it. The discovery of the vessel spread across human colonies like fire through dry grass. Every news channel spoke of it, every council gathered to argue, and every household whispered of the ancient ship that could change the future. Some saw it as a blessing. Others feared it was a danger too great to touch. On Earth, leaders gathered in great halls to discuss the matter. Holograms of the vessel hovered above the tables as voices rose and fell. One governor from the outer colonies spoke with passion. This vessel is a gift. If we claim it, we will no longer be the youngest among the stars. We will stand as equals. Another replied with caution. It is not so simple. The signal has already reached other civilizations. The Avari and Talar send their envoys. They demand answers. If we act alone, we may turn the galaxy against us. While councils argued, Mira, Tomas, and Ren remained inside the vessel, continuing their studies. Yet they too could not escape the weight of the growing debate. One evening, as they gathered near the central column, Ren voiced his worry. "I hear the messages," he said, his hands resting on the edge of his scanner. "Some of our leaders want to keep this vessel only for humanity. Others want to give it up to the aliens. And some want to lock it away, fearing it will bring disaster. We are divided." Tomas leaned against the glowing wall, his eyes distant. "The Lumari built this vessel for many, not for one people. If we claim it only for ourselves, we will betray what it was meant to be." Myra's gaze was firm. "But if we give it away too quickly, humanity may be pushed aside. We must choose carefully. The vessel trusted us first, but now the galaxy asks what we will do with that trust." Outside, alien ships continued to gather. The Avari sent calm requests, offering to share knowledge and study together. The Talar were less gentle, warning that humans were not ready to hold such power. The Saren spoke in their silent way, sending thoughts that hinted at respect but gave no clear answer. A day came when envoys from all sides met in orbit around the vessel. Holographic meetings linked ships together, bringing voices from many worlds into one shared council. Mira, Tomas, and Ren were asked to attend as witnesses, for they were the ones who had first touched the vessel. The Avari envoy, tall and graceful, spoke with calm strength. "This vessel is not yours alone, nor ours. It is a relic of the Lumari, meant to guide all. We propose that humanity open its halls to all who come in peace." The Talar envoy shook his head, his voice sharp. "Humans are still young. They stumble among the stars and now believe they can hold a world ship. If they are not careful, this relic will bring ruin. It must be taken into safe hands." Tomas raised his voice in reply. "Safe hands? Who decides which hands are safe? The Lumari did not build this vessel for control. They built it for refuge. They trusted the future. And now the vessel has answered to us, not to you." The council grew restless. Some voices supported Tomas. Others warned against him. Myra listened quietly before she finally spoke. Her words were steady, her eyes clear. "The vessel cannot be forced. It will not open its doors to those who seek only power. We have seen it respond to intention. It does not ask what we are, but what we seek. If our hearts are true, it listens. If they are not, it remains silent. Wren added, already the vessel has given us glimpses. Gardens, towers, maps of stars, it wishes to teach. But it tests us first. If we fail, it may close forever, and no one will gain its wisdom. The words settled over the council like a quiet wave. For a moment, no one spoke. The vessel itself seemed to hum in agreement, its glow shining faintly through the viewports, as if reminding all that it was still listening. In the days that followed, no final answer was reached. The debate continued on Earth, in alien councils, and within the halls of the vessel itself. Humanity stood at a turning point, and every choice carried weight. Inside the projection hall, the three explorers gathered once more. Thomas traced the glowing symbols with his fingers. The Lumari left this vessel not to be owned, but to be understood. The question is not who holds it, but who learns from it. Mira looked at the stars shining above the map. Perhaps the vessel waits for us to show unity. Not just humanity, but many together. That may be the true test. Wren closed his scanner and sighed softly. Then the greatest challenge is not the vessel itself, but whether we are ready to walk that path. The hum of a vessel continued, steady and patient, as if it had all the time in the world. Yet for humanity and the watching galaxy, time felt shorter each day. The decision could not be delayed forever. The great debate had begun, and the future of the stars rested on what choice humanity would make. The day came when the vessel itself would judge. Mira, Tomas, and Wren stood inside the central hall, the crystal column glowing brighter than ever. The air vibrated with quiet energy, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant waking slowly. Tomas touched the column gently. "It is different today," he said. "The vessel is asking something of us. I can feel it." Myra nodded, her eyes focused on the shimmering light. "It does not test strength or knowledge," she said. "It tests our hearts." Wren scanned the surrounding halls and noticed the doors beginning to shift. New pathways opened, lined with gardens that seemed to breathe, towers that reflected endless skies, and chambers filled with lights that moved like stars. Each space was more magnificent than the last. Suddenly, a vision appeared in the central hall. A figure formed from light, the same as the builders they had seen before. It spoke not with words, but with feeling. The humans understood without a voice. The vessel asked, "Why do you seek me? What will you do if you hold the power I offer?" Tomas stepped forward, his hands raised slightly. "We seek knowledge and understanding," he said. "We wish to learn from you, to care for your gift, and to share it peacefully with others." The figure's light flickered, testing. Another question came, unspoken but clear. "Can you act with unity even when others disagree?" Mira exchanged a glance with Wren. "It is not enough to speak," she said. "We must prove it." She moved to the nearest chamber and opened a small console that displayed the debate from the human councils and the alien envoys. We must show our honesty, not by hiding disagreement, but by showing we can choose together. Wren carefully entered data into the vessel system, including the messages from the Ari, Talar, and Saren. "We must show that we understand their concerns and respect them," he said. "That even when we disagree, we do not act with arm in mind." The vessel's halls began to shift again. New corridors appeared, each filled with symbolic challenges. One led to a garden where every path forked into choices. Stepping on one path caused a projection of the future to appear. Choosing poorly led to chaos in the stars. Choosing wisely showed cooperation and growth. Tomas, Myra, and Wren moved together through each trial. They discussed each choice calmly, weighing the effects not only for themselves, but for all species. Their minds worked in harmony, their hearts aligned with the intentions they had promised. After hours that felt like days, they reached the chamber at the center of the ship. Light poured from the walls, forming a dome of stars above them. The figure of the Lumari appeared again, larger and brighter than before. This time, there was no question, only observation. The vessel watched their patience, their care, and their willingness to place others above themselves. Myra stepped forward and spoke quietly. "We have learned from the debates, from the councils, and from our own hearts. We are ready to share this gift. We will not claim it for ourselves alone. We will invite others to walk with us, to learn, and to grow. We do not seek power. We seek harmony." Thomas added, "We understand that mistakes may come, but we will choose with honesty. We will show that humanity can be trusted, not by force, but by intent." Ren looked at the walls glowing with light and smiled. "We accept the responsibility, and we accept that the journey has only begun." The vessel pulsed. The central column expanded, sending waves of energy throughout the halls. Doors that had remained closed now opened fully, revealing the entirety of the inner world. Gardens, lakes, towers, and cities lay before them, untouched and ready. The vessel had accepted their answer. Outside, alien envoys witnessed the transformation. Through sensors, the Avari's voices spoke with gentle awe. "They have passed the test," one said. The Taller remained cautious, but nodded slowly. The Saren's silent presence seemed to approve. Inside, Myra, Tomas, and Ren stood in the center of the great hall. They could feel the ship breathing around them, alive and awake. The challenge was complete. They had shown that humanity could act with intention, wisdom, and care. Thomas looked at Myra and Ren. The Lumari left this for all life, not for one race. Now we know that. We are not owners. We are caretakers. Mira smiled. And the vessel has shown us that unity is possible. Not easy, but possible. Ren touched the crystal column once more. The future of this ship depends on every choice we make from here. It has given us guidance, but now the responsibility is ours. To share, to protect, and to grow. For the first time, the halls felt completely open. The vessel's wonders were no longer distant or hidden. Humanity had passed the test of the Lumari, and the galaxy watched as the planet-sized ship began a new chapter. One that could unite worlds, teach civilizations, and carry life as it once had long ago. The ship's soft hum filled every corner, a sound of hope and promise. For the explorers inside, the weight of their responsibility was heavy, but it was also full of possibility. The future was not yet written. The vessel had opened its doors, but the story of the stars was just beginning. The vessel had awakened fully. Its halls glowed with calm energy, and corridors stretched farther than any human mind could imagine. Mira, Tomas, and Ren walked slowly through the central chamber, knowing that this moment marked the beginning of a new era. Outside, ships from the Avari, Taller, and Saren hovered in orbit. For the first time, humanity would step forward not as a young race, but as a partner in a galactic journey. The leaders of the galaxy watched with curiosity, hope, and caution. Mira turned to Tamaz and Ren. "The first step is to invite the others inside. They must see what we have learned. They must witness the Lumari's gift." Thomas nodded. "And we must show them that this vessel belongs to everyone who seeks peace, knowledge, and growth. Not to one species alone." Ren touched the crystal column. It pulsed warmly, as if acknowledging their words. "The vessel listens," he said. "It is ready to guide us together." The first group of envoys entered the vessel. The Avari moved gracefully, their eyes wide with wonder. The Taller remained cautious but curious. The Saren's presence was silent, almost like a soft wind that filled every room. Mira guided them through the chambers, explaining the gardens that could heal, the libraries that held endless knowledge, and the towers that mapped the stars with perfect accuracy. Every alien visitor felt a deep respect for the humans, who had first passed the vessel's test. They saw that humanity had not claimed the ship for themselves, but had prepared it for shared use. The Lumari's design, once dormant, now pulsed with life through cooperation. In a large council chamber, the humans and aliens gathered together. Thomas stepped forward. This vessel has opened to us because we chose unity over power. It will guide any who come with honesty and care. We invite all civilizations to learn and grow together here, to share wisdom and to help one another explore. The stars. The Avari leader bowed gracefully. You have shown wisdom beyond your years. We accept your invitation. Let this vessel be a place of learning for all. The Taller spoke next. We have been cautious, but your patience and care are clear. We will walk with you, not as masters, but as partners in discovery. The Saren communicated silently, sending a wave of thought that resonated with the hearts of all present. It meant agreement, respect, and a willingness to cooperate. Days passed as humans and aliens explored the vessel together. They planted new gardens, opened new learning halls, and discovered chambers that recorded the history of the Lumari and their travels across countless stars. Every discovery inspired awe and wonder. Mira, Tomas, and Ren guided new visitors patiently. They understood that the vessel's true gift was not the buildings or the technology, but the lessons it taught about unity, responsibility, and care. One evening, the three explorers stood on a balcony that overlooked a vast garden floating in zero gravity. The stars shone brightly, and the hum of the vessel was gentle, like a lullaby. Thomas spoke quietly. We have done more than we imagined. The vessel has opened to the galaxy, and humanity has grown with it. We have a chance to shape the future. For everyone, Myra smiled. It is only the beginning. The galaxy is full of mysteries, and the vessel will guide all who come with honest hearts. But it is up to us to continue learning, sharing, and protecting this gift. Ren nodded. We passed the test, and now the real work begins. The future is wide open. Together, we can explore farther than anyone ever dreamed, and we can do it without fear or greed. Soon, a great council formed within the vessel, including humans and representatives from every nearby civilization. They planned missions, shared knowledge, and created paths for young explorers to learn. The vessel became a center of cooperation, a living school and home for all who wished to learn. The galaxy watched as the first joint mission launched from the vessel. Humans and aliens traveled together, mapping new worlds, discovering resources, and exchanging ideas. The vessel's influence spread quietly, creating harmony where once there had been distance and fear. Myra, Tomas, and Ren stood inside the central hall one last time, looking at the crystal column. We were only the first, Myra said. Many will follow, and they will learn what we have learned. The vessel will guide them too. Tomas placed a hand on the column. The stars feel closer now. We are no longer alone, and yet we are connected. This is the beginning of something greater than any of us could imagine. Ren smiled at the view of ships departing together into the galaxy. The Lumari built this not for war, not for power, but for life and understanding. We have honored that vision, and the galaxy is watching, learning, and growing with us. The vessel hummed softly, as if in agreement, as the first missions traveled to new stars. Humanity had passed the greatest test and emerged as a true partner in the galaxy. A new dawn had arrived, not just for humans, but for all life that reached for the stars. And so, a planet-sized starship, once silent and hidden, became a beacon of hope, wisdom, and unity. It carried life, knowledge, and friendship across the stars, reminding every civilization that the greatest power was not control, but the ability to learn, share, and grow together.